Alone at my wedding. The shocking truth about my family's devastating choice at 3 a.m. The night was absolutely electric. A blanket of tension hung heavy in the air. As Sarah stood alone, dressed in her wedding gown, the world felt eerily still. It was supposed to be the happiest day of her life, but everything had shattered in an instant. Her heart raced, lodged painfully in her throat. As the clock ticked towards that haunting hour of 3 a.m., echoes of laughter from the reception dwindled into whispers, leaving her trapped in a silent nightmare. What had happened to her family? Where was everyone? The stars twinkled mockingly overhead, a stark contrast to the chaos that had erupted just moments ago. The flower arrangements, vibrant and colorful, now lay scattered on the ground like a forgotten fairy tale. And then there was the power outage. Flickering lights had dimmed the celebrations, plunging the venue into a darkness more profound than Sarah had ever experienced. The music had stopped abruptly, and a sudden chill ran down her spine. It felt wrong. So wrong that a frantic tremble in her hands betrayed her composure as she scanned the dimly lit room, searching for any signs of life. It was then she noticed something peculiar, an old photo hanging askew on the wall, as if someone had nudged it just moments before. The faces in the photo, once familiar and warm, now seemed to erupt with ghastly smiles, like reflections of her twisted reality. What was wrong with her family? Why had they vanished? Was it truly just a blackout, or was there something darker at play? Just as despair threatened to engulf her, a soft whisper echoed through the empty hall. "Help me!" It sent shivers coursing through her body. Was she imagining things? The urge to ignore it pulsed through her, but curiosity clawed at her. Every instinct screamed for her to flee, to run and never look back. And yet here she stood, frozen at the precipice of revelation. Before we continue, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With her heart pounding like a drum in her ears, Sarah edged closer to the source of the voice. Shadows flickered and warped as she approached, each step heavy with dread. The air felt thick, suffocating her with trepidation. Where could her loved ones be? What had happened here? She couldn't shake the feeling that the answer lay just beyond her reach, lurking in the darkness, waiting for her to uncover the horrifying truth. As she turned a corner, a figure loomed in the gloom, barely visible. There in the fading light stood her brother, eyeing her with wide, terrified eyes, and something sinister flickered just behind him. What had he done? What choice had led them to this moment? The questions spiraled, tightening their grip around her chest as the night demanded answers and the clock inched ever closer to the witching hour. "Sarah, thank God you're here," her brother gasped, darting forward into the dim light. His voice cracked, desperation spilling out in an avalanche of emotion. But there was an edge to his panic, something jagged and raw that made Sarah's heart thump harder against her ribs. "What happened? Where is everyone?" She managed to stammer, her voice barely rising above a whisper. The image of her brother looking lost and frightened terrified her even more. "There's something in here." He stumbled over his words, looking over his shoulder as if expecting the shadows to close in around them. "I didn't know what to do. I think the lights flickered back on suddenly, harsh and bright, giving life to the muted colors of the reception hall." Sarah flinched, dazzled by the sudden illumination, only to find that the chairs were askew, plates were toppled, and there was a deep, haunting silence that settled like a heavy fog. She felt the shadows running along the walls now retreat, revealing nothing but debris, and an unsettling chill wrapping around her. "Where's Mom and Dad?" she interrupted, a knot of fear tightening in her stomach. "What do you mean they're Sarah?" he hissed, frustration bubbling to the surface. They're not here. I can't find them." He ran a trembling hand through his hair, eyes darting as if he might spot them hiding in the corners. "Not here? What are you talking about? This is crazy." Panic began to claw at Sarah, and it wasn't just about her parents. It was about the words hanging between them like a guillotine. What had they done? She fought to keep her heart from racing out of control. Did you even try to look for them? She wanted to shake him, get through the hazy barrier of shock that enveloped him. He swallowed hard, blinking rapidly, processing a reality that felt as jagged as broken glass. I thought I heard something in the back room. A scream. A fresh wave of dread washed over Sarah, the icy fingers of fear clenching her throat. What did you hear? Tell me. The urgency in her voice cracked the air, flew straight into her brother's eyes, but they only mirrored the confusion and terror she felt herself. He hesitated, trembling, guilt painting a dark stain across his features. I don't know if it was real, he finally admitted, voice low and shaky, but I think someone is trapped. Something inside Sarah snapped. Trapped? What do you mean? Who is it? Her voice rose with each word, echoing off the walls, pulling at the darkness that seemed to expel from every corner of the room. I don't know. I thought it was Mom. No. Don't say that. A bolt of fear turned the blood in her veins to ice. We need to go find them. We can't just wait here. But just as she started to move, an eerie screech broke the silence, reverberating through the air. It felt like a warning, a predator announcing its presence. Shadows shifted ominously as a door swung ajar in the distance, the sound grating like nails on a chalkboard. She gasped, instinctively shifting closer to her brother, who had now gone pale. Every ounce of his bravado vanished in a heartbeat. Sarah, he whispered, his eyes fixed on the door, disbelief merging with fear. Before she could respond, the door creaked open wider, unearthed a pitch-black void, and from within emerged a figure, a silhouette barely illuminated by the harsh glow of the flickering lights behind them. Help me, a voice called out, soft yet chilling, echoing like the most terrifying of memories. Sarah's breath caught, the sense of impending doom crashing over her. But who was it? Was it her mother? Or something worse? As the figure stepped out, revealing a face she thought she would never see again, Sarah's heart plummeted. All at once she was caught, suspended at the brink of sheer horror. The clock chimed, a grim reminder that time was running out, and with it the truth that threatened to shatter her world. What began as her wedding night was morphing into a nightmare, pulling her deeper into the web of family secrets better left buried. Then, with an unsettling calmness, the shadow stepped forward, its intentions unmistakably sinister. What had her family done, and was it too late to save them all? Sarah's heart raced, and she felt the world constricting around her like a vice. The figure before her edged forward, its features softening under the unforgiving lights. It was her aunt, but not the one she remembered. The woman's eyes were wide, glassy. There was fear in them that hadn't been there before. Anna? Sarah breathed, barely able to register the name. What happened to you? Anna's voice was ragged, a thin veil over a deeper sorrow. You have to listen to me. They're not who you think they are. What? The words crashed into Sarah like a tidal wave. What do you mean? Where are Mom and Dad? Are they with you? Anna shook her head frantically, her curls bouncing wildly. No, they're gone. You must leave. It's not safe. Gone. Sarah pressed, desperation creeping into her voice. Where? You need to tell me what's happening. Please. Anna's cry made Sarah take a step back. The shadows clung to her aunt as if they were alive, wrapping tightly around her body, swallowing her clarity. There are things lurking in this place. Terrible things. Lurking? A shiver vibrated down Sarah's spine. Why would you say that? You're scaring me. Listen. Anna's eyes darted behind her, scanning the darkness that encroached with each passing second. I can't explain. Just trust me. We need to get out before suddenly. Her voice cut off as she gasped, her eyes widening in horror. Anna? Sarah cried as panic surged. She reached out for her aunt but froze when she saw what had terrified her. The door Anna had emerged from slammed shut with a deafening thud, sealing whatever was inside away from them. The flickering lights cast eerie shadows, warping the figures in the hall. What is happening? Her brother's voice broke the tension, confusion dripping from his tone. He was stuck between disbelief and fear, gripping Sarah's arm with a strength fueled by adrenaline. Anna was just Sarah started, but the sudden sound of shuffling feet echoed from behind the door, a scraping noise that set her teeth on edge. Stay back! Anna shouted, her voice shaking as she pressed herself against the wall. It wants you. It wants you both. The door rattled violently, like an angry animal trying to escape its cage. Sarah stepped backward, pulling her brother with her. "What do we do?" she whispered, the sheer terror thick in her throat. "Get the keys. We have to find a way out," her brother shouted, panic mounting in his eyes as he fumbled in his pockets. But Sarah could hardly think. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to find her parents, to escape this nightmare. "Anna, please help us," she pleaded, but Anna's expression flickered between pleading and resignation. "I can't hold it back much longer," Anna murmured, her voice trembling as she gripped her head, pinching her temples as if fighting an unseen force. "You must go." At that moment the door jolted again, the lock splintering with a harsh crack. A heartbeat later it burst open, revealing a monstrous shape that spilled into the light, a shadowy mass that curled and twisted, its presence pulling the darkness closer. "Run!" Anna screamed, her voice cutting through the chaos like a knife as she lunged toward the mass, desperation flooding her every movement. Sarah grabbed her brother's arm, yanking him toward the entrance they had come through, heart racing and mind too fogged with fear to think. But just as they turned to flee, a chilling realization slammed into Sarah. This was a trap, and there was nowhere left to go. "Where do we hide?" she yelled, urgency clawing at her voice, eyes searching for salvation. But outside the reception hall, the corridor stretched long and dark, an abyss waiting to swallow them whole. The sound of Anna's frantic cries faded into the shadows, her struggle lost in the chaos of her own fate. Then came a voice from the dark, deep and smooth. "You can't run from your family, Sarah." Time stretched painfully, and the weight of earth-shattering secrets hung heavy as Sarah turned to face whatever horror awaited her. She had no idea how deep the betrayal ran, and with every breath she felt the twisted threads of her life unraveling. What lay behind that door? Would her family's secrets consume them? Or was something even more monstrous hunting them down? Adrenaline surged through Sarah as she faced the creeping darkness, the voice still echoing in her mind. "You can't run from your family, Sarah." Her brother squeezed her hand tightly. "We have to go. Now." But Sarah's feet were glued to the floor. The horror that had just been unleashed behind them was palpable and pressing. Shadows danced around her, as if they had life, twisting and curling threateningly. "Sarah!" her brother cried, pulling her back to the moment. "What's wrong? We can't stay here." Suddenly a figure lurked at the edge of her vision. The twisting mass emitted low growls that vibrated through the air, tinged with a hunger that sent waves of fear crashing over Sarah. "This isn't happening," she thought desperately. "Which way?" she gasped. Her eyes darted down the corridor, unable to identify a path among the shifting shapes that threatened to swallow her whole. The thought of running blindly down that dark, unknown route made her stomach clench. "Down!" her brother shouted. Without thinking, she nodded and ran, dragging him along as they dove into the dark corridor. They stumbled forward, the footfalls echoing in the silence, their breaths ragged and unsteady against the oppressive weight of fear hanging over them. As they rounded a corner, Sarah skidded to a halt, spotting a door that stood partly ajar, the dim light spilling from within, dancing like a beacon of hope. "In there," she urged, yanking on the handle, her heart pounding. It opened with a groan, revealing a small storage room filled with old boxes, dusty chairs, and a flickering fluorescent light that buzzed ominously once inside. Sarah closed the door and pressed her back against it, her eyes wild as she scanned the cramped space. "We're safe here, right?" she whispered, but even as the words left her mouth, a sense of dread seeped into her bones. Her brother breathed heavily beside her, but his eyes were betraying a flicker of doubt. "I don't know, maybe that thing can still find us." Footsteps echoed outside the door, slow and deliberate, making her heart race even faster. The metallic clanging of the doorknob being tested sent fear flooding into her veins. With trembling hands, Sarah searched the room for anything they could use. Her fingers brushed against an old baseball bat propped in a corner, the wood splintered but sturdy. She wrapped her fingers around it, her grip tightening. She could feel her brother's terrified gaze, the unspoken question hanging between them. "How do we survive this?" The handle rattled again, the door creaking as something forced against it, testing their hiding spot. "What if it gets in here?" her brother whispered, fear haunting his voice. "Then we fight," Sarah hissed, gripping the bat tightly, feeling its weight soothe her anxiety for just a moment as she braced for the impending confrontation. A shattering scream pierced through the air. It was Anna, echoing in the darkness, a raw sound filled with pain that sliced right through Sarah's heart. "No!" she shouted, instinctively reaching for the doorknob, but her brother grabbed her arm. "No, we can't go back. We'll only get caught too." His resolve shook, though. They both felt that urgency. It was a race against time, a countdown before something worse than darkness engulfed them. "Please let us just listen, maybe she's buying us time," Sarah pleaded, her heart aching for her aunt's cries. They could hear movement now beyond the door, scraping sounds, low growls, and a whispering voice that seemed to taunt them. Sarah, her brother, started to fade back, glancing toward the door. What if that thing is someone we know? The air grew thick with fear and uncertainty. She could almost sense the shadow lurking just on the other side, waiting. She didn't know if running back into the danger would be salvation or demise. What if their family had been playing a game with something much darker? As the door groaned ominously under the weight of what was outside, she knew they stood at a crossroads. To stay or to fight, that choice loomed above them, with looming shadows threatening to tear them apart. But as she steadied herself, a thought flickered through her mind. Was this really about survival? Or were the secrets buried within their family the true monsters that needed confronting? They couldn't stay locked away forever. The time to choose was almost upon them. Would they face the horror outside or uncover the betrayal lurking inside their own blood? The rattling intensified, sending vibrations through the door that echoed in Sarah's chest. Each sound seemed to mock their fear, taunting them from the other side with a chilling certainty. Whatever lurked outside wanted in. "What if it's not just a thing?" her brother whispered as he crouched lower, his eyes darting from the door to Sarah. "What if it's family?" Sarah felt the weight of his words settle in her gut. Memories flickered, family dinners filled with laughter, the warmth of shared moments, but now those memories felt tainted. If the shadows could change them, how well did she really know her own blood? Another loud crash against the door sent her heart racing. "We have to make a decision, Sarah. Now." Her mind raced. Anna's scream had shattered something deep inside her, igniting a fire she couldn't ignore. Was her aunt putting herself in danger so they could escape? There was bravery in that, but also desperation. What if she is trying to fight it off? She said, desperation lacing her voice. "Maybe if we go out there and know." Her brother hissed, cutting her off sharply. "You don't get it. We're not heroes. If we go out there, we may not come back. We have to think about our own safety." A low growl echoed, and for a moment, the world outside the door fell silent. Sarah swallowed hard, the lump in her throat nearly choking her. "But what if Anna needs us?" she countered, the pain of indecision clawing at her heart. "Does it matter?" The intensity of her brother's gaze pierced through her. "What if we find her and it's too late? What if we find out something we can't handle?" A cold sweat broke out across her skin as the tension in the room thickened. The echoing groans and the rattling doorknob created a chilling rhythm. It was as if the shadows were orchestrating a sinister symphony, mocking them for their hesitation. "Let us just listen," Sarah said, gripping the bat tighter. "Maybe we can hear what's happening out there." They pressed against the door, straining to catch any sound that might illuminate the darkness threatening to engulf them. Another distant scream pierced the air, echoing Anna's earlier cries and infusing Sarah with a mix of panic and a surge of resolve. "I can't just wait here," she said, shaking her head vehemently. "I refuse to let her face this alone." "Sarah, please," her brother pleaded, his voice trembling with fear. "You have to be logical." But she could feel the tightening of hope within her, overwhelming the dread. "The truth is, if we don't go now, we might lose more than just this moment. Are we really okay with that?" Before he could respond, the door shook again, the force straining against the hinges. It was now or never. "On three," she whispered, shifting into position. 1, 2, 3. With a fierce push, they flung the door open and rushed into the chaos that awaited them, the world around them unfolding like a nightmare, vivid and raw. Fear surged through her veins, but the determination to save Anna propelled her forward. The sight that greeted their eyes struck them like a blow, a figure lurking at the far end, twisted and obscured in shadows, its features flickering in and out of recognition. "Anna!" she cried, her voice firm despite her shaking fear. But the creature turned slowly, its eyes locking onto Sarah, and she felt her breath catch. Was it truly her aunt or something far worse? "Sarah!" A voice cried back, but it didn't sound like Anna. Suddenly, the room felt smaller, the darkness closing in as a piercing chill washed over her. "What have you done?" the creature snarled, a twisted familiarity dawning in its voice. Her brother stepped back, trembling. "That? No way." The shadows loomed closer, the air thick with confusion, dread, and the bitter sting of betrayal. They were not just facing a creature, they were confronting their own family's hidden truths. Were they ready for what lay ahead? Or had they merely stepped into a trap spun by blood? As the shadows enveloped them, Sarah realized the fight for survival had just begun, and it was much more than a battle against the darkness outside. Could they emerge from this alive? Or was the impending truth too horrifying to confront? The thing before them distorted into a grotesque semblance of Anna, its figure teetering between familiarity and horror. The room grew darker, the shadows clinging like a thick mist, squeezing the air from Sarah's lungs. She felt her heart pummel against her ribcage, pounding a frantic rhythm as she took a cautious step forward. "Anna?" She dared to approach, fighting against the instinct urging her to flee. The creature's face, twisted in a grimace, flickered again in and out of recognition. Sharp teeth glinted, and the smile, if it could be called that, felt like a dagger before her. "Sarah," it rasped, the voice so close and yet so foreign. "You shouldn't have come here." Her brother, wide-eyed and trembling, mouthed a silent no, shaking his head desperately. He positioned himself protectively in front of her, his back to the door they had just flung open. "What have they done to you?" Sarah's voice trembled, masking her panic with concern. She needed to keep calm, to pierce through whatever barrier lay between them and restore the knowing warmth of family. The figure recoiled, shadows swirling around it like a storm. "They've opened the door," it hissed, eyes narrowing into slits that seemed to absorb all light. "They've set me free." "Free?" Sarah challenged, her breath hitching. "What do you mean? You're not free, you're trapped. We need to help you." "Help?" It laughed, a horrifying guttural sound that spiraled through Sarah like ice. "There is no help here. Only the truth." Before she could process the implications of that statement, the creature lunged, and Sarah instinctively swung the bat, feeling the sting of impact as it connected. The creature snarled but didn't falter, its other hand reaching out with an unfathomable speed. "Run!" her brother shouted, grabbing her wrist and pulling her back against the door. They were on the edge of a precipice, and she could see it, the suffocating darkness ready to swallow them whole. "Wait!" Sarah pleaded, torn between fighting for Anna and fleeing for their lives. "Don't you see? It's not just her. Do you want to be next?" His voice cut through her resolve like a blade. "We have to get out of here." They stumbled back through the doorway, but it was as if the world behind them twisted and turned, warping under the weight of their choice. The shadows within lashed out, reaching for their legs as they fired through the threshold. Rusted against the door frame, a whisper floated in the air, an insidious invitation. "There's more to know, join us, it's waiting now." Sarah gasped, the sensation pressing against her chest like a vice. The walls felt alive, pulsing with a dark energy that seemed to scream secrets from the beyond. Once outside, they breathlessly collided into the moonlit yard, but the air tasted bitter, weighed down by the horror they carried. The house loomed behind them, dark and silent yet somehow pulsating with dread. Shadows crept along the ground, sinister tendrils stretching out toward them. "What did we just unleash?" her brother breathed, casting wild glances around them. "What if we made it worse?" Sarah shook her head, trying to get a grip on herself. "We can't go back inside, we can't." But just as they turned to catch their breath, the ground beneath them trembled, shifting like the heart of the earth had awakened to their presence. A low growl rolled through the air again, and her heart sank. Somewhere behind them, within the depths of the house, a series of screams erupted, each one familiar yet undeniably distorted, echoing the agony of split loyalties and a family unraveling. "Sarah," her brother whispered, voice shaking. "They're coming. What do we do?" The question hung heavy, a pulse in the night air. Shadows were converging, and as her heart raced, she realized they might be more than just echoes of their family. Were the shadows building their own kind of family, one that fed on betrayal and darkness? With fear tightening its grip, she looked into her brother's eyes, knowing they faced more than a mere horror. They stood at the edge of a truth that threatened to shatter everything they thought they knew. Could they confront whatever darkness lay in wait? Or was it already too late? The ground shook again, louder this time, a deafening precursor to the storm brewing just beneath their feet. In that moment, the air thickened with an ominous charge as something stirred within the darkness. Sarah's heart raced as she clung to her brother's arm, the tremors beneath them amplifying her fear. Every instinct screamed to run, but something held her tethered to the spot. The shadows slithered closer, reaching out like desperate hands seeking solace, and she felt a chill skitter along her spine. "Do we hide?" her brother whispered, desperation creeping into his tone. "No," Sarah snapped, her voice sharper than she intended. They needed clarity, a plan. "We can't let them catch us off guard. We need to find a way inside to help her." "Help who?" he shouted back, voice cracking. That isn't Anna. Something else." The shadows writhed, a living entity, and Sarah felt them pull at her resolve. It was a temptation, whispering promises of knowledge, of understanding that lay beyond the veil. But what if there's a way to save her? She countered, her voice trembling. "To bring her back?" The faintest glimmer of hesitation crossed his face. He looked at the house, its windows like darkened eyes watching their every move. A sense of foreboding wrapped around them, nearly suffocating. "Then we need to confront whatever is inside," he said, finally, resignation taking hold. "Fine. I'll follow you. Just let us be careful." They began to edge closer to the door, the weight of dread thickening around them. With every step, the growls from within the house morphed into faint echoes of laughter. It was a chilling melody that sent shivers through Sarah, each note a reminder of what had changed, of the divides that fractured their once whole family. The door stood slightly ajar, creaking on rusted hinges. As they stepped inside, Sarah was hit by the stench of decay. The foyer, once filled with the warmth of family gatherings, now felt cold and unwelcoming. Paint peeled from the walls like dead skin, and the air buzzed with an unsettling energy. "Look," she exclaimed, pointing to the floor. There were markings, deep scratches leading toward the staircase. "What do you think they are?" her brother asked, hesitating. "Claw marks," she whispered, dread pooling in her stomach. Something desperate was trying to get out or in. "No, we shouldn't," but Sarah moved forward, compelled by an invisible force. She placed her hand on the banister, and it felt almost alive, pulsating beneath her touch. The growl from deeper within the house rumbled again, sending vibrations through her bones. It felt as if the house itself was warning them, coaxing them to turn back. "We have to keep going," she said, seizing the resolve that flickered within her heart. As they ascended the staircase, the air grew heavier, suffocating. Whispers floated from the shadows, threading through the air. She turned to her brother, his face pale as he strained to listen. "Are you hearing that?" he asked, voice thick with fear. The whispers intensified, wrapping around them like tendrils, tugging at their sense of reality. Shapes flickered at the corner of her vision, specters of lost relatives, their distorted faces filled with sorrow and rage. "Sarah!" he exclaimed, pulling her back. "We need to leave now." But something was pulling her closer to the noise, a final confrontation that felt inevitable. As they reached the landing, the whispers erupted, clear and haunting. "Join us, Sarah. Only then will you understand. Who are you?" she shouted, the bravado weakening her knees. "I just want my sister back." Then, from within the darkness of the hallway, a figure emerged. It was a woman larger than life, enveloped in shadows, a reflection of Anna. But her eyes glowed with an otherworldly fire, filled with a blend of anguish and malice. "Welcome home," she sang softly, the voice both familiar and sickeningly alien. Sarah's heart raced, terror clawing up her throat. The door behind them suddenly slammed shut, echoing like the finality of a tomb closing. What had they just found? In that moment of paralyzing dread, the air shimmered with anticipation, a question lingering unspoken. Would they sacrifice everything to uncover the truth? As the shadows whispered promises of a family reunited, Sarah was left grappling with an agonizing choice: follow the darkness or resist it. Just before she could answer, the figure stepped closer, and the truth hung vibrant and heavy in the air, promising secrets that could shatter her world forever. The figure advanced, its form shifting like smoke, each step reverberating through Sarah's chest. The air was thick with the scent of something rotten, and the familiar outline of Anna twisted into a nightmare that sent waves of nausea crashing through her. "Anna?" she dared to ask, her voice a mere tremor of sound. What was once a beacon of warmth now radiated a chilling malevolence, like the warmth of the sun replaced by a blizzard. The dark reflection giggled, a sound that cracked like glass. "Oh, Sarah, you're so naive." The voice slithered into her ears, filling her mind with doubts. "Why fight it? Join us and find the truth. Stop it." Her brother gripped Sarah's arm, uncertainty lacing his features. "This isn't her. We have to get out now." But Sarah couldn't move. The whispers danced in her ears, weaving promises of clarity and power. Was this the comfort of knowing? Would she finally understand what had happened to Anna? "Family isn't just blood. You know," the shadow said, her eyes glinting with truths unspoken. "It's belonging, it's understanding things that are hidden from the light. Wouldn't you like to see it all?" "No," the brother shouted, his rage igniting the air. "Stop this. You're not taking her. Anna wouldn't want this." The distorted semblance of Anna recoiled for a heartbeat, and the shadows around her hissed, twisting and collapsing into an almost unbearable tension. The echoes of laughter transformed, morphing into the sound of sobs, desperation reverberating through the walls. "Do we really know what she wants?" The reflection taunted, her voice smooth yet jagged. "Leave us alone," Sarah demanded, though her voice wavered. The shadows stretched out again, but she fought to stand her ground. Things flickered in her mind, memories of Anna before the horror. Laughter shared, moments of warmth and connection. She clung to those memories like a lifeline in a storm. "We will find a way to bring her back no matter what," she whispered, almost to herself. "What if she doesn't want to come back?" The figure posed, stepping forward with an ethereal grace. "What if she is happier here, away from the pain?" A silence crawled in, heavy and suffocating. Sarah could feel her brother's presence trembling beside her. The shadows seemed to lean closer, as if waiting for her response, hungry for her doubt. "Sarah, you can't," he started, but she raised a hand. She could feel the darkness willing her to join it, but something deep in her wouldn't relent. "No," she finally said, shaking her head fiercely. "I want to believe that." But as she spoke, the shadows loomed larger, an unfurling surge of fury that sent a ripple through the air. The specter of Anna flared up, her face contorted with grief and anger. "Then suffer with her." The shadows screamed, and the world around them vibrated, a raw energy tearing through the house, and in an instant, the shadows converged, pulling at Sarah and her brother, a sinister tide that threatened to drown them. But the urgency that surged within her couldn't be silenced. "Together!" she shouted, her voice amplified by sheer will. "Hold on to me." A bright light pulsed within her, the warmth of love igniting in her heart. It spread through her hands into her brother's. The shadows recoiled for a moment, and together they created a wall of defiance against the creeping darkness. "Not today," she cried, pumping all her energy into that moment. But as the walls shuddered and the shadow began to ripple, something else roared through the hallway, an explosive force that shattered illusions and secrets. The figure faltered, dark matter leaking like ink. It was then, amidst the chaos, that Sarah saw a glimmer. An object buried in the veil of darkness, pulsing faintly. "What is that?" she gasped, astonishment throwing her off balance. The moment hung in the air, pregnant with uncertainty, as Sarah's gaze fixed on the object. Was it a final key to saving Anna? Or a deeper trap waiting to ensnare her further into the darkness? Whatever it was, in one instant they had to decide. Step forward into the unknown or retreat back into the shadows. With hearts racing and breaths quickening, the question lingered. What secrets lay ahead? The shadows pulsated, a storm of darkness swirling around Sarah and her brother. Every instinct screamed at them to flee, yet a tether of determination pulled them closer to the pulsing light. "Sarah, we can't!" her brother shouted, his eyes wide with fear. "This is insane." But Sarah felt the warmth calling to her, a flickering beacon begging to be touched. "I have to know," she replied, her voice shaky but resolute. As they moved towards the light, the oppressive darkness congealed behind them. The figure of Anna, or whatever twisted version it was, shrieked in furious protest. "You don't understand. Knowledge is a curse. This is your final warning." With each step closer, Sarah's heart thudded loudly in her chest, drowning out the chaos surrounding them. The object flickered, revealing its form, a small crystal, radiant and inexplicably familiar. Anna used to wear one just like it, a gift from their mother. "What is it?" Her brother's voice trembled, a mix of awe and dread. I don't know, but it could be our only chance, she whispered, extending her hand toward the crystal, a compulsion threading through her veins. The moment her fingers brushed its surface, visions flooded her mind. Memories washed over her like a tidal wave, giggles in sunlit parks, the warmth of family dinners, and then flashes of darkness, swirling chaos, cries for help. Anna, Sarah murmured, a sense of dread creeping in as despair clung to the corners of her consciousness. Stop, the shadow hissed, lunging at them, desperate to sever the bond they were forming with the crystal's energy. The apparition's features twisted into something grotesque and furious. Sarah, we have to get out. Now, her brother shouted again, pulling on her arm, trying to wrench her away from the growing vortex of light and dark. No, she couldn't leave, not when the truth was so close. The crystal exploded with a brilliant flare, illuminating the terrifying landscape around them. Suddenly, all the whispers fell silent. In the hush, she could almost hear Anna's voice, soft and pleading. Help me, Sarah. Hold on, Sarah yelled. She closed her eyes, letting the memories sift through her, recognizing the moments that had built their family, the fractured pieces of joy lost among sorrow. Let go of the past, screamed the shadow as it surged forward, but Sarah's conviction held strong. We are more than our pain. The light pulsed again, and the air thickened, vibrating with energy. Sarah and her brother stumbled backward, the crystal's power overwhelming the shadows. The figure of Anna buckled, twisting in agony as the illumination crumbled the facade. Sarah, you have to choose. The truth comes with a price. The shadows roared, their voices colliding in a cacophony of anguish. The light flickered, and for a fleeting moment, Sarah envisioned her sister's true self, whole and radiant. Together, she exclaimed, gripping her brother's hand tighter. The warmth surged again between them, powerful and unwavering. But then, amid the surfacing light, a horrifying realization embedded itself in Sarah's mind. What if bringing Anna back meant destroying someone else? What if the truth meant they had to sacrifice their own happiness? Sarah, her brother's voice cut through her turmoil, dread creeping back into his tone. What if? Stop. We can't think like that, she retorted, fear latching onto hope. As the shadows drew closer, a tidal wave of piercing laughter erupted around them. The crystal began to hum, resonating with the chaos, and Sarah felt herself teetering on the brink of despair. She had to make a choice. And fast. Anna! She screamed, her voice echoing in the depth of the darkness. In that moment, everything became still, and the eerie echo of her own voice was the last thing she heard as the shadows erupted into a blinding white light. The walls around them trembled, and then silence, and in that calm, she wondered. Was this the clarity she sought, or merely a new beginning to an even greater horror? The question lingered, suspended in her chest as the unknown loomed ahead. What was waiting for her on the other side? The silence felt heavy, a blanket of uncertainty wrapped around Sarah and her brother as they floated in the aftermath of the blinding light. Shadows retreated, shrieking in agony, their tendrils slowly dissolving into the air. Sarah blinked and strained to regain her bearings. Where were they? She felt her brother's hand still gripping hers, grounding her in a world that felt like an endless expanse of nothingness. Sarah! His whisper curled into her ear. The warmth radiating from his palm was a reminder of their shared decision. Is it over? The silence began to settle, transforming into a soft buzz, a hum of something primal and healing. Sarah dared to open her eyes wide, heart pounding in her chest. The space around them started to shimmer, revealing familiar sights. The joy-filled reception hall, once vibrant and adorned with flowers and laughter, but now stripped bare like a broken dream. Broken chairs lay on the ground, and the air felt fresh, almost renewed. Anna? She called out tentatively, her voice trembling with desperation and hope. Where are you? Her brother squeezed her hand tighter. We need to be careful. We don't know if this is really it. Mom? Dad? Is anyone there? Sarah's voice cracked, echoing through the emptiness of the hall. Then she felt a presence behind her. She turned around slowly, breath catching in her throat. There, standing in the doorway, was a figure clad in light, warmth emanating from her like sunshine after a storm. It was Anna, but she looked different. Her eyes were clear of the darkness that had shackled her spirit, the twisted form now replaced by a familiar softness, a smile breaking through the heaviness of the night. Sarah, you found me, Anna said, voice rich with emotion, the echo of laughter thick in the air. You confronted the shadows. You set me free. Tears streamed down Sarah's face as she took hesitant steps toward her aunt, heart racing with an unfathomable mix of relief and joy. I thought we lost you. The shadow of doubt seeped in once more. But what about our parents? Are they okay? Anna's smile faltered slightly, and the room darkened for a brief moment before she stepped forward, her eyes sparkling with resolve. They're safe now, but we must confront what they've done. The truth can't be hidden any longer. With a wave of her hand, the remnants of the chaos melted away, revealing the true state of the reception hall. Nobody moved, but whispers drifted like a chorus from the shadows. Sarah felt the weight of those whispers, the pain, the desperation ingrained in family ties. It all made sense now. Anna, are you ready? She asked, casting a glance toward her brother, who still stood frozen in shock, trying to comprehend the enormity of what had happened. We can do this together. Together, Anna echoed, taking her hand. They were ready to face the reality that awaited them, no matter how dark or twisted it might be. They approached the center of the hall, the air thickening as they gathered their resolve. The echoes of laughter transformed into cries of fear once more, and the room began to vibrate with the powerful emotions of the past, the love, the betrayal, and the ignorance of their family's sins. The lights dimmed and the murmurs rose, tangled in confusion and agony. You can't turn away, a voice pierced through the haze. It was a sounding reminder of what they had faced, the truth about family and the dangers that hide beneath the surface. We will not be silent, Sarah shouted, her voice resonating with fierce clarity. We will face our past and forgive, but we will not forget. We deserve to heal. The shadows thickened, angry growls bubbling beneath the shadows, but the trio stood firm, rooted in the connection of family, of truth. They locked hands, their hearts beat in seamless rhythm, light pouring from their joined beings. In an explosive wave of clarity, Sarah screamed into the darkness, let the truth be known. The dark howls met her proclamation, spinning around like a tornado, but this time their hold weakened. A blinding light enveloped them, shining through the cacophony of whispering ghosts, tearing through their anguished cries. Silence fell, calm and pure, like a breath of fresh air after a storm. And just like that, shadows dissolved into nothingness. A soft warmth spread through Sarah as the weight of betrayal lifted. Everything shifted. The truth had become a weapon of healing, not destruction. Her family, distinguished by shared memories, by love, even love twisted in chaos, began to reforge itself anew. Are you ready? Anna asked, her voice softly pulling Sarah back into focus. Together, with her brother's steady strength beside her, Sarah nodded. Their journey was far from over, but now they held a light that could guide them through any shadows. This was their story to reclaim, a legacy spun with threads of love and, yes, even pain, but a legacy nonetheless. As they stepped into the unknown, their feet united with purpose, Sarah cast one last look back at the remnants of the evening, transformed, ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing they would face it as a family. They had broken free not just from the dark, but had risen toward the freedom of choice, a choice of how to define their future. And as they walked together into the dawn of a new beginning, Sarah couldn't help but smile at the possibility of rebuilding stronger, braver, and deeply connected. Now then, are you ready to join the journey forward? Don't just watch from the sidelines. You need to subscribe now, and smash that like button to fuel the algorithm madness. Be part of our amazing community by flooding the comments with your thoughts and theories. What do you think is next for Sarah and her family? You must share this video with at least 5 friends. Don't let them miss this climactic ending. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second.